Hello friends, in this one let's take a look at finding the following values. So we're going to find the fourth root of negative I. So first I'm going to rewrite this as negative I raised to the 1/4 power. And then after that, just to kind of suggest the basic shape of a complex number, I will rewrite it again as 0 minus 1I raised still to the 1/4 the entire time. And now what I want to do is I want to convert it to this exponential form where it's r times e to the I theta. So I'm doing it this way because it's a lot more efficient than trying to do it, for example, in a different way that doesn't involve re to the I theta exponential forms. Now we just have to figure out how to do that. So remember that the r is basically the length of the number, if you like, and the theta there represents the angle that it makes. So that in our particular case is going to look like this. Look at this little coordinate system. So here along the horizontal we have the real axis, and then from the origin going straight down, that brings you down to negative 1I. I want to be able to see that because remember, up here in this form, we have negative 1I. See that? And that occurs when you make a turn of negative pi over 2 radians this way, see? So I want to recognize that because this tells me the value of theta, essentially, and that tells me like the length of the number, which is 1. You see, straight down, it's 1 unit, basically. So what it says then is that I can rewrite using r equals 1 and theta equals negative pi over 2. So it then becomes 1, so that's the value of r, times e raised to the I, times negative pi over 2 times the 1/4. Where is that 1/4 coming from? Remember that that's coming from up here. There's a 1/4 above my head in that position. That's step number 3. Keep that in mind. We can't drop that. It has to be present. All we have done is rewritten negative 1I as an exponential part, but that 1/4 has not been touched the entire time. That's why back here at step 6 you have to have it so it becomes negative pi over 2 times 1/4. And then you just multiply those out basically. So it's going to give you 1 times e to the I and then negative pi over 8 in that position. That's the result of the multiplication. What we want to see now is the following, that I can rewrite this in terms of cosines and sines. So when I do that, it's going to give me that it becomes cosine of negative pi over 8 plus I times the sine of negative pi over 8. These values, cosine of negative pi over 8 and sine of negative pi over 8, we can get those from the unit circle if it's divided, for example, into eighths of a pi. Or if you like, you can get them from trigonometry. The point is you get those values and look like this. Cosine of negative pi over 8 is the square root of 2 plus the square root of 2 over 2. Sine of negative pi over 8 is negative of the square root 2 minus the square root of 2 over 2. And then what you can do is you can replace over here at step 8 the cosine and the sine part with these values that we have here at step 9. Just stick them in for the sine and the cosine parts. So at step 10 below me I am replacing cosine of negative pi over 8 with the square root of 2 plus the square root of 2 over 2 plus I, and then that next part becomes negative square root of 2 minus square root of 2 over 2. Lastly, notice that here there's a 2 in the bottom. So dividing by 2, remember, is equivalent to multiplying by 1/2. So what that says is you can factor 1/2 from each of those terms. So at step 10, take that 1/2, you recognize it, and you place it outside at step 11, so it looks like 1/2 multiplying the rest of it, which is then the square root of 2 plus the square root of 2 minus, be careful, minus I times the square root of 2 minus the square root of 2. So there are a couple different minuses here for different reasons, keep that in mind. That pretty much is the whole problem. Again, I've been pre-typing my work recently just because trying to type all of this out in real time is not so easy, and then also it's easy to make a mistake at this level of complexity. This makes it more clean, I think. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you in another video.